We all know the Great Wall of China. They indeed built an enormous 8,800-kilometer wall to prevent northern invasions, much of which still remains and can be seen. However, it seems that in fact, the Chinese wall building isn't over. Now they need another wall. Not to prevent northern invasions, but to protect against the harsh nature of the northern Gobi Desert. The assault of this desert sand on China is much more dangerous than the northern invasions, and it must definitely be stopped. China's arable lands are very limited, and although China's size is almost the same as the United States, only 12% of its land is arable, whereas 52% of the US land is arable. Even this 12% is under threat, and at any moment, the dragons of the Gobi Desert are advancing southward. Of course, this advance is the habit of deserts. If you leave deserts unchecked, they will advance. You know that China currently has the largest population in the world, and after years of hardship and struggle, it can stand on its own in terms of agriculture and feed its people with that 12% of arable land. Of course, this is with the help of greenhouse technologies they have implemented, most of which are located in the Xinjiang region. The Xinjiang region is very desert-like, and in addition to being a desert, it is also rocky and not suitable for agriculture. However, the Chinese have solved this problem in that province with the help of modern greenhouses. In these greenhouses, they produce high-quality products such as tomatoes, onions, garlic, watermelon, and cantaloupe. Throughout history, the most common cause of death for the Chinese has been starvation, and they have only recently reached a point where they no longer suffer deaths from hunger. But suddenly they realized that an evil monster called the Gobi Desert is advancing into China, in such a way that if they don't stop it, it will turn more of China's agricultural lands into desert. China already had no shortage of deserts. 27% of the country's land is desert. In 2006, they faced a terrifying statistic. They suddenly realized that every year, 1 by 600 square kilometers of their greenlands are being swallowed by the Gobi Desert. There are many deserts in the world, and we have our own too. But the Gobi Desert is the driest desert in the world after Antarctica. And this dryness causes constant sandstorms there. Sometimes these storms become so powerful, that they reach cities, even Beijing, despite the fact that Beijing is quite far from the Gobi Desert. In 2006, the alarm was sounded for the Chinese. They realized that if they didn't stop this desert, not only would the Chinese face hunger again, but their country would slowly turn into a desert. They concluded that they needed to build a wall in front of this desert. A second Great Wall of China, but this time, not with stone, brick, and mortar, but with trees. A major decision was made in China to create a dense and thick forest wall to the south of this desert. They calculated that this project would require 100 billion trees, a project that will be completed by the year 2050. This wall is not as long as the Great Wall of China. It is 4,500 kilometers long, but its thickness is not comparable to the Great Wall of China. China generally faces a shortage of forests, with only 5% of the country's land covered by forests. However, when this project is completed, the percentage of forests in China will reach 13.5%. In China, there is a communist government in power that is dictatorial and totalitarian, and it can decide in which city I, as a Chinese, should live or where my job should be. The Chinese government, has selected millions of people from across China to send for this project. The name of the vast forest that is to be created is Changcheng, which translates to the Great Wall of China. But this time, it's a green wall in the middle of our green zone. Millions of people, along with their families, have been sent to these projects. They have been provided with work tools and seeds of certain plants. To initially consolidate the soil, they start by planting dry plants, like desert thorns, to stabilize the soil. The Chinese government sent people to this project, and although they were sent compulsorily, they are satisfied with the good salaries they receive. After the soil is stabilized with those dry plants, several types of trees are planted, most of which are pine trees. Haku. The organization of the Chinese is very good. They have divided these areas, and each area has a leader who is trained on how to green the area. Then, everyone working there operates under this leader. So, what stage is this wall at now? So far, as we are recording this clip, 2.5 billion trees have been planted. And even now, it is the highest number of trees planted in a single country. India holds the second rank in tree planted, having planted 2.1 billion trees. But this forest is just the beginning. The number of these trees is set to reach 100 billion. As we mentioned, this project started in 2006. And with the number of trees that have been planted so far, the Gobi Desert has been forced to stop advancing. And in some areas, it's even retreating. The cessation of these sorceries occurred in the year 2021. Currently, about 13 million hectares of forest have been created, which is the size of. This project, although not yet completed, is considered a success as unseen. Because it has not only stopped the drought, but also completely changed the climate of that southern region. These trees have caused the annual rainfall in those areas to increase, and that is why the drought has stopped and some areas are even forced to retreat. Of course, some Western experts object to this Chinese practice and ask why they chose pine trees for most of the trees. And their belief is that if a disease were to affect the conifers, it could threaten the entire forest. The Chinese took note of this, and from then on, they increased the number of trees. It's not all conifers anymore. The trees that have been planted so far have had a positive impact on the entire northern strip of the country, but they have negatively affected Beijing, as it is one of the most pollutive cities in the world. After the establishment of these forests, pollution in Beijing has increased, and they say these forests block the northern winds, preventing them from coming in and carrying some of Beijing's pollution away. Nevertheless, the positive benefits of this forest far outweigh its negative aspects. Currently, about 10% of this forest has been established, but it has already claimed the title of the largest man-made forest in the world. Our region also really needs such projects. Please share your thought.